Alright friends, today we're not shooting photographs, we're shooting billiards. But while I'm doing that, I'll explain to you how I get cinematic shots every time and how I moved from this kind of shots to something like this. I'm gonna give you best tips I can. So friends, one of the biggest thing in this video I want to give you is take you from level A to level B. So most people, what they do is they take a picture, it's raw, they edit, they put color grading, and then they upload. But what they're missing out is what's gonna make them stand out. For example, if you go to my page, you will see my style, you'll see my signature. If I show a friend a picture and ask them, guess who took it? They'll probably be like, oh, you did, because I know you do this, you do that. Which is my signature style, and that's what stood me out. There's quite few ways that you could actually stand out. One of them is the orton effect. If you don't understand what the orton effect is, basically you have two pictures. One of them is super sharp, the other one has some blur in it, kind of like a mist, and they're blended together to make the image somewhat sharp and also somewhat blurry, which gives it silky look, a glassy look. One time I posted orton effect on Facebook, and one a boomer or millennial commented that it kind of looks like I have some oil in front of my lens. It's actually a creative touch. Some people like it and some people don't. If you don't like the orton effect, you're a different kind of person. It's not something bad, but you just don't like the misty look, the glossy look, or what some people say, the oily look. So I would recommend that you try out something different, something like a vintage look. You could make your shots a bit grainier. You could make your shots heavy on the masking process. I was actually gonna shoot from here. Can you imagine? I haven't played billiard for so long, so just bear with me. How was my handling back then? Yeah, okay. The white ball already got in. Don't just take the picture, edit, and then upload. Add your style, add your riz, add your sauce, add your secret thing. Because I could tell if I visit Peter McKinnon's shot from my shots, because they're not quite the same, and there's a different aspect which I will tell you right now. 5 shots or 4 shots so far and not a single one in, but that boy is it. I don't think you guys can see it, but I told you that boy was it. So the second aspect is what you're documenting. So most people, what they do is like they tell their client or subject, hey, do this, post like this, which is not bad if you're doing studio photography, but for like street photography, candid shots, lifestyle, you don't want to be telling people what they do. You could be shooting someone walking the street and then take their shot, and it could be something good, because you want to document something, you want to tell a story, you want something happening and a frame out of that event. And I kind of took that. Shooting, let's say fashion, you don't want your client to just do something. You could do like, hey, give me a walk, and while you're walking, a catwalk, give me some hips and flares, and like, this shot in the screen right now, I was shooting a client for a coat. So most of it was about the clothing, was about the fashion. So I had to be creative. I told my client, hey, could you give me swing while her hair kind of matched the aesthetic. It was like some curls and big curls. So I said, hey, could you give me swing? And while you're swinging, I'll shoot all the frames in there. And then there was a frame where her face was on focus. And then her curls were like big lumps. So the part between her cheeks and chin wasn't much hair. So I could see her face and it was on focus. So that frame stood out to me, and it was some of my favorite shots. Another frame that I love is one I shot in Kajama shape. If you haven't seen my Kajama series with Socality, I would say please check it out, because in that event something clicked to me. In that summer 2024, something changed with my style, and if you go to my page, you could actually see what changed. Because I took my favorite photographs ever in that ship. It was a couple hour ride ship, and we had a sunset, we had a blue hour, we had a rainy weather, cloudy, misty, and there was a shot I took with this model, and then the shot looked like this. I edited, and then I added my creative touch, and I added another creative touch with this text that blends in with the sky, and it was over. And I realized, hey, I don't need to just edit my photographs and then upload. I could actually experiment them. I could actually put my vision. I could actually tell what I want to tell. I could actually play around with the photo and change the atmosphere. Most people that I see don't even shoot with a VND filter. There is a big misconception. Should you only use VNDs for videos or should you use for photographs? And I'll tell you why I use every time. I never take it off for my photographs. One thing is I could shoot low motion blur. So let's say someone is walking and I could get a subtle motion. Like it doesn't have to be a lot, but I could see the background a little bit on the edges and I could see some motion, which is like chef's kiss. You know, I need subtle motion. If a train is moving, if a streetcar is moving and I take that, in the edges it looks like so soft, blurry. In the middle maybe sharp, but for the last edges it looks so good. One of the biggest things I changed for my photos is the exposure. I like my photos quite underexposed, like let's say 10%, 20% underexposed, depending on the look. And that little underexposure gives me like a flat image that the kind of the shadows and the highlights are kind of balanced, so it's a pleasing to the eye to look at the image, because there's no like big differences. Even if I have highlights, even if I have a sky, I will tone that thing down until it perfectly blends in to the subject or to the foreground or whatever else that's like the mid-tones and also the shadows, so the whole image kind of like looks. And you could also try with texting, or you could even use design. You could use Canva or Photoshop to actually like add text, big fonts behind the subject, which just gives it like 3D kind of like effect, because you have a background, you have a text, and then you have a foreground, which is your subject, which is actually the subject of the image, but it brings in that 3D dimension into a 2D image. So that is good. That is something you could experiment, and it's an eye-catching. I don't even know how to play billiard. That's how stupid I am. Copy people. Copy favorite, like one of my favorite influencers, photographers, filmmakers. Very inspirational guy, Ben McLean. I love his work, and I tried copying his work, even though it's not my style. I also like short stash, and if you search for how to edit like short stash, you would actually see some people that actually invested their time to just tell you how to get that look. But if you're not a fan of all of that, skip one lunch for $14.99, buy my preset. For quite a big time in my first 2 years in photography, I actually thought I was very bad. I was very bad at it, because I would look at people like that were inspiring me at the time, like Ben McLean, I said, and I would look at my work and I would be like, man, I put big professional camera and lenses in here. At the time I had a 90D with 50 prime, and is it actually gear that matters? And recently I made Arpan, which is most of the time you shoot with mobile, and his work very, very decent. You couldn't tell if he ever shot with a phone or camera. In front of that lens, I got the Peter McKinnon Chroma VND. What's cool about this VND is it's a variable ND, and it's also circular polarizer. So when I'm shooting in a place like this, there's so much light that's coming